Hey everybody, Dr. William Clark here. Glad to be back with you again for a quick conversation about leader development. We've been having these conversations off and on the past couple of weeks about this new book I wrote, Leader Development in Your Church. And even though I wrote this for church leaders specifically, the content here is relevant to anybody leading an organization. However, I do specialize what I write for nonprofits and churches. So I do encourage nonprofit leaders and church leaders to grab this little quick read. This book roughly is about a little less than 30 pages to read. And the reason why I'm writing these short mini books, a series of them on a plethora of leadership and strategy topics, is so that you, as a practitioner in the field who's leading a church, leading a nonprofit, can get the information you're looking for quickly. We all can read and write 200, 300, 400 page books, and those are great. Trust me, I've read a few and written a few, but I think, having this quick information helps all of us get what we need without having to go through a lot of pages to find out, oh, that was the point. So I tried to get to the point as quickly as I could in this particular read. And you can go to my website, williampclark.com. Again, that's williampclark.com. And if you click on this icon, if you read the description, it'll tell you how to get your free copy. So I encourage you to go get your free copy at williampclark.com. But I wanted to do a quick blab on the topic of consistently developing leaders. And one of the things that leaders care about, especially as you're bringing up new leaders in the ranks and you want people to take responsibility, is making sure you have a bench of leaders who can take on new responsibilities, but also making sure that you have a consistent outcome when you're developing a bunch of leaders. It's nothing like developing something, a product or a service that's inconsistent. Many of you guys have visited fast food restaurants, and one of the things that we all hate as customers of fast food restaurants is the inconsistency of the food. One day the food would taste awesome. The next day it would taste meh. The third day it would taste totally bad. The fourth day it may taste awesome again. There's inconsistency in how the food is made. And as a customer, it's annoying, right? Because it makes you question whether you want to go back to that particular restaurant again. What about a place where you go shop retail and you buy a product, and you buy multiple products from that same store, but you have an inconsistent customer service experience? It makes you question whether you want to go back to that place again or not. As you develop leaders, it's the same concept. If you go through a leadership development process and you're not getting consistent results, it can make you question whether you even want to go through this process in the first place, or if you want to even have a system in place to develop leaders. And the bad thing about that is the leaders who desire to step up and want to take on new responsibilities don't have new opportunities because you are discouraged and you have a bad taste in your mouth about the leadership development process. And so in the book, I briefly cover the importance of leadership basics, but also the importance of having a system in place to develop leaders. One of the things I say is that when it comes to leadership development, you need to have some sense of a system. Something has to work. There needs to be a process that's in place that develops leaders. Because if emerging leaders don't have something to look forward to, or they don't have expectations that they can look forward to if they're desiring a leadership role, you alienate a bunch of people. But then also, when you do have a desire to develop people into a leadership role, it's an inconsistent process. And so whether you're doing it actively or not, or you don't have capacity to develop leaders, or you do have capacity to develop leaders, it's important to have some sense of a system in place that you can always go to and say, hey, if I find somebody that inspires me to encourage them to step up, or somebody lets me know that they're interested, I have something in place that they can to and go through so they can become a leader. So you need to have some sense of a system in place. The other reason I share about having a system in place is to help as many people as possible. A system allows you to put a bunch of people into the process and not have to feel overwhelmed by it. The reason why you're not feeling overwhelmed is because you know how the process works. If the process is a 3-step process, 4-step process, 5-step process, whatever you decide to do, then you are always aware of where a person is, and you're always aware how much time that person has while going through the process. So it makes your job a whole lot easier when you know that there's a system in place for that person to develop. And if that person is having challenges, if that person is experiencing difficulties, because you know the process, because you know that it's a 3-step process, you know exactly how to coach that person out of that situation and get them down through the process to the next phase of their leadership development. So that's important. The other thing I talk about too is that a system encourages people to build upon their current skill sets. A system allows you to do that. People bring a variety of skills to the table. People bring a variety of interests to the table. And by having a system in place that you trust, you're saying to yourself that I know how to pull skills out of that person. I know how to make their skills more useful to the organization. I know how to position their skills so that their skills are adding the most value, not only to the organization, but to themselves, and they are growing in the process. The last thing I share about a leader development system is that it's important to have it in place because you want consistency. And I mentioned earlier an example of a fast food restaurant. Sometimes we go there as customers and we have an inconsistent process. One of the things that can really be detrimental to a nonprofit organization or even a church is when there's inconsistent results when developing leaders. As a nonprofit and even as a church, you have a customer base that depends upon your services. People are looking to you to deliver certain services and certain products to help them navigate through their life circumstance or situation. Nonprofits represent the heartstrings of people because they do work that is out of a passion, out of concern, and is generally free or low cost because it's subsidized through other resources. If you think about your customer base and you think about who you're serving and why you're serving them, it's important to have a consistent leadership system that will better serve that customer, not just now, not just today or tomorrow, but on an ongoing basis. Because at the end of the day, without your customer, there is no nonprofit. And so it's important to make sure that your customer is at the forefront of your mind as you're developing leaders. A system allows you to do that. Now, one of the things I mentioned in one of my earlier blabs when I covered leader development system is there is not one system that fits all situations. And nor would I encourage any client who engages me as a consultant to look at a particular system as the only system. Sometimes a leader may find out that there are multiple systems that are appealing to the development process of their people, and they may cherry pick pieces of that system and make their own unique system. I encourage that type of thinking. Part of my reasoning for that type of thinking is because contextually, your people have a certain understanding of the customer. Your people have a certain understanding of the organization. Your people have a certain understanding of the environment, whether it's geographic or the community, that is very unique to your nonprofit or your church. And as a result, even though someone can recommend one system that can resolve all problems for nonprofits, the reality is there are so many nuances when it comes to serving our nonprofit client base. And so I encourage leaders to take a look at what systems work, what connections can be made between multiple systems so that leaders are developed in a consistent basis. So I hope that you are getting something out of these quick conversations when we talk about leader development basics. I think that as you kind of work through your process of one, developing your own leadership, and number two, work through the process of developing the leadership of other people, you're looking at one, how to become a great leader yourself, and then two, how to produce leaders that are great. I'm not talking about leaders who are like you, who do things just like you, but leaders who are great in their own right, adding their own value that pushes the organization forward. Again, I'm giving these talks out of my mini book, Leader Development in Your Church. You can get your free copy at williampclark.com. If you go to the website, click on the icon in the description below, it'll tell you how to get your free copy. I encourage you to get your free copy. I even encourage you, once you get your free copy, to share it with people, give it to people, give it away, because I want as many people as possible to have this free copy of this book so they can continue to work on their leadership development, both internally and externally. Thanks, everybody. See you guys soon.